Hi, it's Jamie with UK Extension, and today I'm up at the UK Arboretum and we are talking about one of our loveliest, most striking native flowering trees, and that would be our eastern redbud. Redbuds are nearly ubiquitous across the state of Kentucky. You see them a lot in some difficult situations like highway cuts and very steep hillsides and things where other stuff would struggle to thrive in droughty conditions. Redbuds are very adaptable. The standard version has the heart-shaped leaf and these pinkish lavender flowers. The color does vary naturally in shade in nature, but there's lots of other forms too. You can actually find a white flowered form of this that many people like to call white bud. Correctly, it is white redbud or white eastern redbud, but those can be lovely in their own right. We also have weeping forms. Right here is a variety known as Ruby Falls. There's another similar weeping variety called Traveler. You can also find in the marketplace now redbuds that have both maroon foliage, redbuds that have golden foliage in the spring, and lots of variations therein. One of my favorite ones, I don't know if we can find an example of it here today, one of my favorites is called Appalachian Red because it truly is more of a deeper fuchsia magenta shade than the typical lavender pink. But redbuds are generally pretty disease and insect resistant. If they're in an unfavorable site, they can sometimes fall victim to verticillium wilt, and they are not always the longest lived trees based on where they're growing. A lot of times they branch very tightly, so trees may have limbs split out and things, so they may not be the longest lived plant you can add to your landscape, but they certainly are fast growing, will reward you handsomely in just a few years, and peak out somewhere in most landscapes in the 15 to 20-foot range, although in the wild we can find redbuds up to 40 feet tall. They do produce a little seed pod after flowering that looks like a small lima bean, a very flattened lima bean or a snow pea, and those seedlings fall to the ground and travel about and often pop up lots of babies. You may notice baby redbuds popping up a lot, but that's why we see them around the state. They are a very prolific seeder. The seeds do provide some value to certain birds and wildlife species. Occasionally a pretty good yellow fall color on redbuds, sort of a buttery yellow late in the season, but they're just very well adapted to Kentucky because they belong here. They're easily grown, they fix their own nitrogen, they'll tolerate difficult sites and poor droughty, rocky soils. Redbud belongs in every landscape in my opinion, and just take a look at all the different varieties and versions there are in the market to pick the one that's absolutely best in your front yard.